Today, I'm gonna go over every button on the RX 350 with my trusty gimbal and smartphone. This is something I did on the NX 350 and it was a big hit, so I figured why not do it on our bread and butter, which is the RX. But before I get into that, I have a contest for you. I'm gonna do a giveaway for some Lexus swag for a few people, maybe we'll do 3, who can find me on Instagram and comment on one of my photos, RX 350. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Okay, so as you can see today, I have a beautiful copper crest RX 350 in the showroom. And this one is the luxury package. So it's not gonna have every bell and whistle and button, but for the most part, it'll be able to give us an idea. First things first is let's look at the front end. So usually you don't get to get so up close to it, but with the magic of this gimbal, you can see very closely things like the grille, those parking sensors that are on said grille, the Lexus emblem, which is super important, especially you can even see when we're up close, the little heated lines on the Lexus emblem. And that's to keep the snow and ice off for that sensor that's embedded into the Lexus emblem. The headlights themselves on this package are the single LED headlight. I do want to do a comparison video of the triple beam LED headlight one of these days, maybe at nighttime, to compare the two. But in terms of exterior, those are sort of the main differences between some of those higher models. And then we have that daytime running light sort of strewn across. From there, we have some venting here on the side of the bumper as well. For the most part, it's just for looks. There isn't any washer for the headlights on this RX, but we do have those nice 21-inch wheels. And I think Lexus did a really good job of these wheels. Ooh, that looks really good, just the way I'm sort of showing it right now. It gives you a really good indication of the two-tone that it has, which sometimes can be kind of hard to see on the internet, is the two-tone. The S-Sport package has a bigger brake kit behind that wheel. This was just a smaller brake kit. So I think it's really important for people when they're looking at aftermarket tire and rims, that the sport models, it's definitely a different setup down there. So coming right down the center, we're gonna find the little lever. So it's kind of lined up right with that Lexus emblem, I would say. And we're gonna lift up. And what you'll see, that's the lever right there. So really, really easy to find and open up. Here is the engine. So on the RX 350, it is a similar, or pretty much the same, engine and powertrain to the NX 350. And we can see that it is the turbocharged 4-cylinder. We have that little Lexus emblem here. It's not as covered over as things like the LS or LX. I find we have a little bit of cooling here at the top. I'm pretty sure that that's not just for looks. And then everything else is pretty much open. So you can see some of our canisters, things like the windshield wiper, the coolant, etc. There is a relay and fuse box over to the left. And then also over to the right, we have our battery. Now in the showroom, we do put little trickle chargers on our battery because we find they die a lot because we're constantly opening and closing the doors, running the radio. So at nighttime, we always close it in. I'm pretty sure this little box here is to help generate sound for that intake. I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. Oh, and then up here, we just have some material, some sound deadening, et cetera, et cetera. But that is what it looks like underneath the hood of your RX 350. Oh, and you can see some heat shielding here because the turbo is back there. So turbos generate heat, people, and that's why we need extra cooling for said heat. As we approach the RX 350, we want to talk about the handle. As you just press on the dimple, that's what I call it, you'll hear that beep, and you'll even see it on the mirror like that. And if we had it set up where the mirrors would fold in, those mirrors would fold in when we lock it. That's always a good idea because then when you're looking at your driveway, you can tell if your car's unlocked from far away, if the mirrors are in or not. And then to unlock it, we just put our hand inside and you can already hear that beep. To actually open the door, there's like a little pad in there that we're just gonna apply pressure to. And the door will sort of kind of come out a little bit at the same time. So that's that electronic door latch. And you can kind of hear it when I go like this. So you can hear it. It doesn't take much pressure. It's just a little bit. If we needed to get in here and the car was dead, because obviously that's an electronic door handle, there is a method to do that. So we would just pop off this little flap here, and it is tricky because it kind of comes off the opposite way you would expect it to. A lot of people will try and pry it that way. You sort of just pop it up and the clip will unclip halfway, and then you grab it and you sort of just pull it towards you and out instead of to the back of the vehicle. Once you do that, then you get the key in there, you can unlock it, but then you use this little handle here. It's like the bottom trim of the handle. It's actually a lever, and it takes a lot of pressure to actually use, and it only activates on 2 reasons. One would be if the car died, so if there's no power going to the doors, and 2 would be if we used that key in there to unlock it, then it would know that we're trying to do that. So it is a little bit tricky. So let's look inside. But before I get too in-depth inside, I see something that is too tempting to not do anything about, and that is this piece of plastic. I know this is a dealership car, but I just wanna... Amazing. There's something about that. It's like when you get a fresh TV or a new TV and you could pull off that screen protector. That's exactly what I feel like. Okay, so taking a look at the inside of the door, there's a few things to go over. So one of them is the electronic door handle from the inside, which is really important because this is actually my favorite part of the electronic door latch system, is this door handle right here. So to use it, you simply just rest your hand on the rest of the handle and just apply pressure to that door handle. You can actually hear it, you can hear it click. Now, a lot of times people will just press it and not apply any like pressure from their arm to open up the door. You have to do that because if not, it kind of gets in this weird mode where like the door's not shut and the door's not open and you can't push it open, you gotta pull it closed and it does this weird thing. Or if there is a dead battery, how you access it is you pull it this way. You sort of just get in there and use your thumb. And I see a lot of the times people just do that anyway because they think that's how the door handle opens. And there is a little sticker at the top of it. It shows you what to do. So that's the number 2 times to activate that manual door handle. On the rest of the door, we have some buttons over here. So we have the lockout switch for all the passenger windows. Then we have the power window switches. So it is a 5-way switch. So 1 down, 2nd down. So that's that like auto down feature. You can just like hit it all the way down and the door will go down. And we have 1 up and all the way up. And we have that for the front and the back windows roll down all the way too. Then we have the lock and unlock. It's kind of funny because you're not gonna hear that click door actuator because there's actually no door actuator happening here or lock actuator. Instead, it's just allowing power to go to this or not. And then we have left and right for your window switch. And then you can fold in your mirrors with that button there to the top left, or fold them out, or put them in auto mode. And I recommend auto mode because then when you lock your car, they'll fold in and you know it's locked. And the whole neighborhood knows it's locked. And maybe the guy trying to break in and steal your purse knows it's locked. I don't know. Okay, so now that we are in the RX 350, let's do some of the buttons in here. So starting on the left, we have the gas door switch, and that's over to the left, right beside the trunk switch. So trunk switch, gas door switch. And the gas door is also on the left, so it's easy to remember because the switch is on the left. Underneath that, we have a secret passageway. In this secret passageway, we have a spot for, I don't know, coins and maybe your parking pass, things like that. Not a lot of cars have that anymore, so I think that's cool. And above those, we have our memory seat switches. So usually Lexus has always had them on the door panel, but now the door panel is very clean and there's not a whole lot going on there. And we have them here on the dashboard. The nice thing about that is it's a little bit more in your driver's sight. Not that you're usually driving when you press those buttons. I don't know if they even work when you're driving, but they are like a little bit easier to spot because even when you're just sitting here, you'll be able to see them off to the side there. And to use them, you just press 1, 2, or 3, and that'll move the steering wheel, it'll move the mirrors, it'll move the seat to where you've programmed it. And how you program it is I usually just hold 1 button on the set and then the 2nd finger on 1, 2, or 3. And the fact that there's 3, usually you don't have 3 drivers. I mean, maybe some of you do. I usually have like Dustin comfort mode, Dustin race mode, and then like, you know, the third person type thing. So above that, we have odometer and trip. So again, Lexus has sort of placed those buttons in a little bit more a line of sight. In previous generations, you'd have to like look around and like it'd be like behind the steering wheel, where now it's a little bit more just in front of you. So when you hit odometer, it goes to odometer or trip 2. And then to the right of that, we have up and down for dimmer. So this will dim not only the gauge cluster and some of the other lit up illuminated lights, it also will do the ambient lighting. So that helps too, which is really nice. Okay, onto the steering wheel. So this is the luxury package, meaning we don't have a heads-up display. And because we don't have a heads-up display, we have just some classic old-fashioned buttons here on the steering wheel. And some people in the comments don't love the new heads-up display with the electronic sort of like soft touch buttons. And if that's you, then this is probably the package that you would like. So onto the left, we have up, down, left, and right. That's gonna scroll through our screen that shows up on the left here. So right now, it's actually telling me I have fuel low. If I go to the right, it'll now say things like gear position. And I can go down, down again, my total fuel economy, which this car has obviously not driven yet, so it's kind of outrageous. We have average speed, elapsed time, distance to empty, average fuel economy again, eco indicator. So this is a little animation that you can see sort of like how your driving habits is right now. Then we have a turbo. So this shows things like oil temperature, as well as the actual PSI that the turbo is spooling at right now. And there's a little animation that's kind of cool. I wish my turbo car had that, but they didn't have that back then. And then a G-force meter. So even though this is not a sport package, we still have a G-force meter. And you might ask what that does in a car like this. Not a whole lot, but it is kind of cool to see the little dot moving to the side and up and down when you're driving. Fun fact is, on some of these cars, it'll save it. And you could tell if the last person that drove your car was really pushing it, because the plot will be all sort of all over the place. Then we can go to the right and see our compass, and this is where it would be displayed if we had our navigation on. It could also show up there. And then music, and then our adaptive cruise control, and then if the car needs to tell us anything, which in this case, it's telling us that our fuel is low. And I did all of that by just going left and right and up and down. Sometimes you'll have to hit OK, and that's why there's an OK button there. It's pretty rare. And then whenever it was pulling up a screen that I didn't want to see, I would just hit that little back button right there. Underneath that back button, we have our phone button. So it's not the answer and hang up phone button like we've seen in older Lexuses. It's just the phone button. And when you press that on our big screen over here, we would see our phone screen. So things like our messages, recent phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we have volume up and down. So really easy to use. It's in a perfect spot for it, in my opinion. I like to use the volume knob in the center, but once in a while, I do find myself using this. And then we have the little face button. And the face button will activate our voice commands. So things like call home, call work, call Dustin, et cetera, et cetera. There is one more button that I forgot to talk about in the last one, and that is the horn. That's right in the center. Sounds exactly like you just heard. Nothing crazy there. This top left button here is our cruise control. So usually when I'm driving, I'll just hit that when I'm going the desired speed. It'll lock in the speed. It'll already have adaptive cruise control on. And then I can just sort of let the car do its thing. Then we have the lane centering and lane departure alert button right underneath that. It'll change. See that little button that keeps coming on and off, that little light? So we want it to look like that. We want it to look like the car is in between two lanes. And the Lexus system does a great job at doing this. It really takes a lot of that thinking out of trying to keep you center and straight. Then we have our cruise control buttons. So up and down or resume is just right here. Again, they're physical buttons, super easy to use. We have our cancel for that cruise control. And then we have our cruise control mode. And that's where we can go from adaptive cruise control to just regular cruise control. And I know I have some people in the comments that like their regular cruise control. I don't know why, because I think the car does a great job of keeping that safe distance from the car in front of you. And it is really nice. Then for the radar cruise control, we have this distance button here. You can see the distance changing. So that's like 4 bars, 3 bars, 2 bars, 1 bar. Those aren't car lengths. I told someone that they were car lengths one time, and I was very much wrong. There's these left and right buttons, which are for music. So that's how you're gonna go next preset, next track, next Spotify, next podcast, whatever you listen to, that's gonna be on those ones. The last ones on the steering wheel is the shifters, the paddle shifters. They're on either side. We have shift up on the right and shift down on the left. They're made of plastic. On the LC, they're like a magnesium. I've seen some aluminum in other cars. On the RX, they are plastic, but not a big deal. No one will really notice. And actually, while we're up close to the steering wheel, even just the fit and finish is nice. It's got like this wood grain that's like open pore wood. It's like a black wood grain because it's a black interior, and overall it looks really good. So that is the steering wheel controls. Then we have, on the side of the steering wheels, we have these other two little arms, sometimes that we forget about, including myself. So the left one, we have our auto high beam on and off. So if we had the headlights on right now, and you can see to the right, that light that's turning on and off, I think it's like the squid launcher, the octopus launcher, whatever people say on the internet. When it's got the A, that means it's auto. So we're gonna leave that on for right now. And what I did was I just turned the headlights on to demonstrate that. Usually you're gonna leave it in auto. So do me a favor, just leave your headlights in auto. There's no reason not to anymore. And then we have our daytime running lights, and then the other squid or octopus, which is headlights on. So we're just gonna leave that in auto. If we wanted to do a high beam, we would put it away from us. If we wanted to flash a high beam, we'd pull it towards us, just like that, just a quick flash. Again, we're gonna use auto high beam most of the time. Then we have our fogs, which is right here. Ooh, actually, I just realized there's another light right there. So that's also for the auto high beam. I usually leave the fogs on, and then whenever the headlights are on, the fogs are on. So over to the right side, we have our wipers. So this wiper here is the rear one. So the outer collar is for your rear wiper. You can see it kind of going back and forth up there. So that's rear wiper. I do use that, especially in the snow time. It is not automatic. Then we have this other little collar here, or whatever you want to call it. And this is a way to sort of fine tune your wipers. So it's either doing the intermittent or it's adjusting the sensitivity of the rain sensing. And I would recommend just leaving it in rain sensing. And how to do that, when you're just normally here, if you go up, it'll just swipe one time. If you go down one from the rest, that's auto. And you can see it on the diagram there. So one down from the resting spot is auto. And then whenever water hits it, it'll activate. Then we have one more down from there, which is just your regular wipers. It's just kind of going in a regular way. And if we go twice, it'll be as fast as possible. Which I don't know, I feel like I've seen it go faster than that. And then if you pulled it towards you, it'll shoot water at the windshield. And if you push it away from you, it'll shoot water at the rear wiper, which I'm not gonna do right now because it'll make a mess of the showroom. A lot of people forget that if you push it away from you, it does the rear wiper. And on some Lexus cars, it even does the rear camera when you push it away from you. So that's a little life hack. That's a little dusty tip for you guys. Okay, so now that we're sitting here, let's continue on to the right, and what better spot than the center console. So in the center console, we have a few more buttons here. We have traction control off. A lot of times people say, well, what situation would you turn your traction control off? You would have to be stuck in a snowbank or something and really need all that power to go to the wheels. I've never been in that situation in an RX. That's a lie. I have been in a situation like that in an RX. And I turned traction control off to get all my power to the wheels. I think when I did it, it was like desperate times, desperate measures. I hope you don't have to use that. Then we have our terrain select. Ooh, I'm gonna turn back on the car for this. So this is just, again, one more assist. It kind of makes it in, I don't know, off-road terrain mode, kind of. And you can see the little green light that's flashing right now. So that's me pressing that button on and off. Then we have our parking brake. So it is an auto parking brake, and you can hear it. And you press it down and pull it up with your foot on the brake, and it'll tell you what it's doing. Then we have downhill assist mode. So I live in Ontario. We don't have a lot of big hills, but if you do, this could be a good mode to save your brakes, etc. And then we have the auto off button, double off, 2 offs. So that's that feature that a lot of new cars have, that when you're at a stoplight, even though it's not a hybrid, and you hear that gas engine kick off, you can override that and have it so it doesn't do that. I got really used to that over the last couple of years. I barely notice when the car does it anymore. However, there has been a couple times early on that it really tripped me out and I didn't love it. So you can override that every time you get in the car, but it doesn't save it. You have to do that every time. Then we have the shifter. So to put it in park, and this is really important. I hope everybody's listening to this part because we get a lot of confusion with the shifter. Press park to get into park. So you just press that P. To put it into reverse, for instance, you're gonna grab that shifter, go over to the left and up, just like that. And then it snaps back. Then drive is over to the left and down, and then it snaps back. It's not gonna let us do drive right now. Then if we want it to be manual mode, we would just hit down on it. So not going over at all. So pretty easy. It is really quick to do, I would say. That is one of the coolest things about it is it makes it super quick. Obviously that is a huge benefit because when you're going to park really quick, put it in gear, park, without having to like, do a whole lot of work, which is great. Little hidden button is this push right here. So that's a big difference between the NX and the RX is this one. So if I push down, if you had a venti Frappuccino and you need more stability because the whipped cream is so high on your Frappuccino, you can push that down further in the RX with that front, only the front cup holder. And then if you need to return it back to a tall size or small Timmy's, you can press that and that bottom comes up. That's been a classic RX feature since 2016. Then we can open up this little cubby in here. And even in this package, we have the wireless charger, so you can just place your phone in there. I would show you that, but I'm using my phone right now to record. The thing with the RX is it really puts your phone out of sight, out of mind, and you can focus on driving because you can shut that door again and not have to worry about your phone. But don't forget it in there. I've been in a boardroom and realized, I checked my whole body, realized that my phone is still in my car in the parking lot. And of course, being a millennial, I couldn't go a whole meeting without looking at my phone, so I ran down to my car and looked very silly, sprinting through the parking lot to try and get my phone before the meeting started. We have a USB-C and a USB-A, and then that classic sort of 12-volt cigarette lighter style plug. And those are all tucked away. So if you want to plug in a device to charge and you don't want to see the wires, use those ones there because then we can shut it and there's a big cubby there for all that stuff. And we still have a few USB-Cs which have a really quick charge to them. And those are both right there. And then we have just a little cubby in there. In terms of the vents, we have these little dials here, and actually technically, I guess that means I missed a button over here. Right here, we have a dial for the venting. So you can shut it or have it opened. It's easy to tell because whatever you see, whatever line you see is the setting that it's on. So this is fully open, this is fully closed. And that just does just that vent, and then same thing over here, but it's just up and down. So one of them is all the way open, and then this one is all the way closed. I've wondered in the past why we don't have a more technological way to do that, but I think it's not broke, don't fix it. Most people just leave them open all the time anyway. And then we just have our vents here. You'll notice the RX being a little bit wider. A few things are spread out a little bit more. It's not a flat little handle. It's kind of got a little bow to it because it kind of bows outward, which makes it easier to use, I guess. And the button that no Lexus owner ever uses because our cars are so reliable is the hazard button. So it is important to know that. I know a lot of people are gonna say Lexuses do break down sometimes. Yes, and also sometimes we just gotta tell someone that there's a hazard on the road. And you don't wanna panic and not know where your hazard button is. So if you're looking at the dashboard and your screen, it's right there. It's right in the center and it flashes once it's on. Then we have our volume knob as well as our climate controls. So I'm just gonna turn on our screen and kill some battery real quick. So volume, you can press and hold it to reset the system. When Apple CarPlay and Android Auto first came out, I was doing that once in a while. And then just press it once to like mute. It is rubber. There's no clicking or anything to it. It sort of just does its thing right in the middle, really easy to reach. Then we have front defrost. So that'll crank the fans and everything to defrost your front windshield. Over to the right, we have our heated rear windshield and heated mirrors. And believe it or not, that uses a lot of battery. I remember learning that in school that it's really hard to create heat with electricity. So anything that creates heat with electricity uses a lot of battery or fuel. So just a little dusty tip there. The RX has a really beautifully done climate control system. So you have these knobs on either side. Essentially, you just turn them and they have sort of like a little rainbow backing. It's really nice. And depending if it's synced or not, that changes the temperature. I usually just leave it on auto 21 because we're in Canada. But if you wanted to override it, you could just use this little slider, crank that fan speed up or crank it down, whatever you want, turn it off if you wish. And then also we have things like recirc mode. So we can actually change the recirc mode or the AC. But again, once we do auto, it's gonna knock those things off and the car is gonna do most of the thinking there. And speaking of heated seats, that's how you turn them on, as they're not physical buttons, they're electronic. They're on a touchscreen. So we have heated. Again, I usually leave it in auto, but if you wanted to do your heated and cooled, you could do so, and the cooling seats does work really well. Also, a lot of people think this little man is just a diagram, but it's actually a button. And that's how you change where the flow is doing. However, again, once you hit auto, it's gonna knock that out because auto is gonna do all of the things. Then we have a heated steering wheel. There's 2 settings for that as well as auto. And then we have this button. Again, no one ever realizes that this is a button, and that is the front and rear switch. So if we hit rear, I think I have to turn the rear on first, but that's how you switch it to being able to control the rear climate control as well. Sync, which syncs the right side and the left side of the vehicle, and then we have the passenger heated and cooled seats. So all that climate control is done through the screen, which is pretty cool. And I'm just gonna show you really quickly just the screen here. This is the home screen where you're going to set it up, and I do have other videos of a little bit deeper of a dive, but there is a lot of features in here. I know I said that this is a deep dive video, but it's really not. There is like your tire pressures, you can see your all-wheel drive working, trip information, so a little bit of fuel economy and averages, things like that. Driving assists. This is a really important one because you want to make sure all of your driving assists are on. From the factory or from the dealership, usually this one here, the proactive driving assist, is usually off. And usually, I think that's because some people don't love it. It's kind of weird at first. It's like having an extra bubble of protection around the vehicle. And because of that, when you come up to another car in traffic, you might feel the car take over and slow down a little bit. I absolutely love it. I leave it on. Every car that I drive has my proactive driving assist on. And we have all the other features like road sign assist, which just like it says, it'll show you a road sign here in the screen, whether you're construction zone, stop sign, etc. Pre-collision system, I don't have to explain that. Rear camera detection, again, added level detection when you're parking. Rear cross traffic alert, safe exit assist. So because the door handles and doors are so intelligent, when you go to leave the vehicle, if there was a car coming, you wouldn't be able to open the door. It actually knows that. So that is the safe exit assist. Blind spot monitoring, parking support brake, intuitive parking assist, and lane departure alert. That's all right there. There is an extra button for climate control, and you could do climate concierge, which I really like, letting the car do all of its thinking automatically by auto. We also have smart flow, which makes it so only the occupied seats get all the AC and heating. Eco cool, which is nice, and eco heat, saving on gas. And then de-icer, hidden feature, please pay attention. De-icer heats up your windshield wipers. So if you're in Canada and it's that awkward time of the year where like you go to use your wipers in the streets because there's ice everywhere, hit that button, it'll change your life for the better. And over to the right of that is the little 9 dots, whatever it is. And this, we have some frequently used buttons over to the left. So like sport mode, eco mode, all that. And then we have some comfort and convenience features to the right, max heat. You can silent things, max cool. And we can swipe over to the right. We have our actual drive mode, so normal, eco, sport, and then more driving assist. So it's like another screen to get to all of those features. And again, maybe not everybody knows that that's there, but it is. One more thing about the screen, and I promise I'm done because I wasn't gonna talk too much about the screen today, is from the factory, they come with a screen protector. So this one right now, you can tell by the way it's shining, it's a little bit matte finishy. That's because there's a screen protector on it, and you wouldn't be able to tell that by looking at the edges. The only reason I found this out was because a guest of mine said, well, my screen is scratched. And actually, you can kind of see it in my light here. You can see some light scratches. And that's because it's not on the glass, it's on the shipping screen protector, which you would just sort of like use your fingernail and start to peel off. And again, I don't mind doing this because someone's gonna buy this car and take it off anyway. And then you'll see that that actually will come off. I'm not gonna do it because I want this to be protected for the next owner, but make sure you take your screen protector off because that'll really help. Okay, before I get out, there's a few more that I wanna go over. One of them is in some of these cars, there is usually a picture of me. Oh, there it is right there in the mirror. This is the regular mirror, and it doesn't have the switch at the bottom to do the camera in the back. It being the luxury package, it's just right there. There is still some electronics to it, like it auto tints, for instance, when there's high beams behind you. And we have some garage door openers that you can program here. There's a way to do that. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on it. As we look up, we have our sunroof controls. So you can open and close the visor because this is a pano roof. You can open and tilt it, so you can just tilt it if you wanted. Then we have the dome light for the doors when the doors are open. Make sure that's on because if not, you're gonna get in your car and it's gonna be dark inside. And then we have map lights and dome lights. So that's all just very soft touch and it works really well. Then we have our little secret sunglass holder where I always leave my sunglasses and forget about them. And we also have our little armrest glove box, and you can open that from either side, which is really nice. The seat controls are on the bottom of that base. You can kind of just think of like, this is like the base of the seat. It looks like the base of the seat and it acts how you control it. And some people don't know you can twist it too. So if you twist it, it does different things. So we can raise and lower the front of the seat. We can raise and lower the back of the seat or the actual base of the seat, or forward and backward to slide. Then we have this is just the tilt. So that's for the backrest. Pretty easy. And this is our lumbar. And this is a luxury package, so we really only have those few settings, but still pretty good for the price that you pay. On the back door, we don't have as many buttons and features, but we still have that electronic door handle, and it works the exact same. We have one window switch, and when you press it, the window goes all the way down, and when you pull up, it goes all the way up. And by the way, these come a little bit tinted from the factory, which is nice. Then we have our lock and unlock there, and that's pretty much it on the door panel. Even there's like a little speaker screen there. Okay, so sitting in the back of the RX 350, we have a lot of space here because it's a bigger interior. The main features that we have in terms of back here is this climate control. This is really the only electronics that the back passengers have access to. So we have a USB-C on either side of that center little area, and both of them are quick chargers. We have heated and cooled seats. And I don't think you can do auto in these. No, you can just do manual. So we're gonna do either 3, 2, 1 for heat and the same for cooled. And it's pretty amazing having cooled seats in the back of your car. I think that's a flex when you bring your friends with you and you guys are playing tennis or golf or something and you're in your shorts and you can turn on those cooled seats and it cools you off all the right places. I think that's the best. And then we can also adjust the climate back here and the fan will kick on and off and that sort of thing for these backseat passengers, because just because you're in the backseat doesn't mean you don't deserve luxury. Then the center armrest, we have cup holders that fold away, sort of just like a storage space. It's not big enough for like an iPad or something, but you could put maybe a Game Boy. Do people use Game Boys anymore? You can put something back there, that's for sure. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we do have the panel roof, which is important. It gives us a lot of light back here. That's pretty much it back here. Not a ton to go over in the backseat. I will say there is a lever that a lot of people don't realize, and that is at the bottom of the backrest. So the bottom of the backrest, that's the lever, and when you pull it, that's how you fold down the seat. Equally as important, if we were to be sitting here while I did that, that's how you recline. So now that seat is reclined because of I pulled on that little lever at the bottom. Okay, so let's go to the back of the RX, but not before just giving you a good look at how good this copper crest looks. I will say I love this paint color. I love it most in the sunlight where you can see a lot of that depth. Actually, maybe with the light I have, you can kind of see the flake here, but in sunlight, outdoors is the way to view this car. And with the taillight and the Lexus emblem, I think it's super sharp. I think they did a great job. Okay, so back here, we have our hidden wiper, which I have a video of how to change the wiper blade because it is hidden, but we're not talking about that today. We're sticking to the basics. So to open the trunk, you just find the X. X marks the spot, or in this case, the opening trunk mechanism. And how you do that is underneath it, there's just a little soft button. And inside, we're greeted by a spacious yet appropriately heighted trunk space. And inside, we have some accessories that come with the Lexus. So we have this net that sort of just goes there. It hooks on to either side, and then it hooks up here to be able to give you a place to put things that are loose and flopping around your trunk. Then we have this carpeted mat. So I do recommend doing the cargo liner, which is like a rubber mat. It's like a hard rubber mat to protect it, especially if you're gonna have any type of messes back here, because it's really hard to vacuum and have to like sweep carpet where you could just have hard plastic. Then we have our summer mats, because usually we have our winter mats in. Nice little Lexus emblem there as well. Here's how to use the tonneau cover. So it sort of just clicks in like that, and then when someone looks in the back of your trunk, you can't see anything because it's covered over. And to release it, I just apply pressure and it flops back into place. If you ever lose one of these, they're like a lot of money. So if you're not gonna use it, make sure you put it somewhere safe. No, I don't think you could fit it under here. In some cars, you can fit it under that fake floor, not the RX. We do have a spare tire, however, a full-size spare tire. We have our jack. We have a great little cubby, which we have our little Lexus books and medic kit in. That's a great spot for that, but definitely you have more space for other things, like cleaning products, etc. That's what I would put in there. Then back here, we have some switches. So I have a power switch to fold down my seats. So we have left and right, and pretty self-explanatory. When I hit that button, I'll show you, it just releases it down. In this package, it won't bring the seats back up, but it releases it down. So if you had to put a 2x4 or something in, that seat is now down. And then we have our little hooks beside that. These are our grocery hooks. If you have a grocery bag, you could hook it on there. And then we also have our 12-volt outlet as well. So that's pretty much everything for the trunk space. And to close it, we just look up, and there's two buttons here. There is the regular close button, and then the lock and close button. Now the lock and close button is a little confusing because people will press it and then be like, oh, it didn't do anything. It's because it's waiting for you to walk away with the key in your pocket. I'm just gonna hit this one. I usually do, I don't know, I just like the consistency of it. I just hit shut, and then I go and lock the car, either with the key or with the dimple. So there you have it. Every button and feature on an RX 350 luxury package as asked for by you in the comment section. So let me know what you think of this video as well. If you did enjoy it, let me know what other style of videos you would like done like this, or what other models you want me to do. And I do recognize it's a luxury package, so it doesn't have all the features that your car might have if you have a higher package, but at least I covered most of it. And as a friendly reminder, if you find me on Instagram, comment on one of my photos saying RX 350 for a chance to win some Lexus swag. I'm gonna give away 3 things, so you have 1 of 3 chances to win. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.